Hi, welcome to Living as Latinas. I'm Jackie and I have my co-host here, Audi.
Hello.
This week we're going to be talking about death and what it means to die. Why people are so afraid of dying. It's something that culturally, people have a really hard time talking about and processing. So, how can we change these viewpoints so that we don't feel like we're missing out on things in our life? If you felt this way or know someone who feels this way, sit back and listen as we discuss death and dying.
Yes. So, why is this topic so fearful for people?
Oh, what do you think? I mean, I know why I feel like people are so afraid of it.
I think it has to do with the fact that we think that is over.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, most people think that once you die, that's it. No more.
You're gone forever. Yeah.
Gone forever. Yeah.
What is death like? I was trying to kind of do the research for this, and I found people like mostly when people think about death, they think of it as like the act or the fact of dying or being killed, right? So
Hmm.
that's like your the end of life, the end of your organism. You stop breathing, your blood is not flowing, your brain is not active, like ja, poof, you're
Se
done.
acabó.
Yeah. Why is that so why do people fear that? Why do they think?
I really think that it has to do with the lens that you look at it. And I'll give you an example, right? So before, let's say 5 years ago,
Mhm.
if you asked me about death, I would have said something like, oh my God, no, right? Let's just not talk about that because I have to do so many things. But in general, I've never really been afraid of death.
Mm.
And I always thought that it has to do with the fact that, thank God, I have not lost many people in my life. And so maybe that's part of it, that I haven't been exposed to it so much that I am afraid of it.
Mhm.
Maybe, or maybe it's just the fact that I'm not really afraid of it. Like when
Yeah.
I think about dying, I'm not afraid of dying. I'm more afraid of leaving my kids without a mom, for example. You see what I'm saying?
And that's reasonable, right? You don't want you feel like as a mom you think like, oh, nobody's gonna take care of them as good as I am.
Exactly.
And I get that. I get that fear that people might have because of that. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of things that people also like when you think about death is like the FOMO, and
What
that's
is
some
that?
yeah, fear of missing out. Yeah.
Oh, the same reason why my kids don't want to go to take a nap.
They think that something exciting is gonna happen the moment that they go take a nap. Just like people feel like, when they're gonna when they die or they pass away, like, like they're gonna miss out on so many things, like whether,
Hmm.
graduations, weddings, like special moments in people's lives. And I get that, like those are happy things,
Hmm.
that you want to be a part of, but you can't. Like if it's not if you're not gonna be there, we can't control like, oh, I'm gonna be alive until, January 7th because January 5th my daughter's getting married. Like
Exactly.
we don't
Exactly.
have that little time clock that says like, yo, okay, vamos, pause.
Hmm.
That's not how it works.
And I've always heard people say things like that, like, oh, I wish to be here, like to see my grandchildren, or I
Mhm.
wish to be here to see my daughter get married and things like that. And that is exciting. And I think that that is a really good reason to want to be alive. But like you said, we don't know. And it's that dying is the craziest thing, Jakira, because it's the only thing that you know for a fact that is going to happen. Like there's no way around it. You are going to, okay? Like
Right.
and being that is the only thing that you can be sure that is going to happen, it's also the most freaking like fearful thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And maybe that is what it is, that you know for a fact that it's going to happen. There's no if, it's when.
Right. Yeah. And one of the things that I found out when I was doing my research for this is like, like younger people have more of a fear of death than older people.
Hmm.
And they said that because like older people have been around longer, right? They've done more, they've processed more, and they're not so afraid because they're like, you know what, like I had a good life, like I did what I had to do, I worked, or my kids are older, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be, and they're like, it's my time to go, and they're more apt to accept death, um, so that it's less fearful for them, which I thought was really cool.
Really cool and really interesting, because maybe it has to do with the fact that you're more mature and that you are okay with understanding or accepting that that's how it goes.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Maybe when we are younger, we don't want to accept it. We know it's true. We know it's going to happen for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
But we are, nah, not right now. I mean, hello, I got things to do.
Yeah, right? You're like, oh my God, I didn't buy the car that I wanted yet and drive 110 miles per hour on
I
the highway.
know. I know. What do you mean buying? No, we got things
No.
to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It would be really interesting to know kids, for example. That's not a conversation that you have regularly. Um, but it would be interesting to know what they think it is without you, like before you put thoughts in their heads,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because they're probably on that side with the older people.
They're just like, what? Yeah, whatever. Like, that's
Yeah,
nothing.
the thing that happens, and then people go to heaven and it's fine.
Yeah. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. They just move to another place.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you know what, I've always had problems not accepting the people are gonna die, but more so um, knowing what to do when someone dies. You know what I mean? Like not feeling adequate, not feeling that I have the right words to tell people. And
Mm.
and that is the most uncomfortable thing to me, because I don't know, like I don't know how to act. I don't know what to say, because I feel like the things that I really want to say are wrong to say to someone.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because they're in pain. And you don't want people telling you that it's fine.
Oh, it's fine. You're gonna get over it. It's just a
Exactly. That
process.
would be mean.
I know.
But I have a hard time with that.
Yeah. But we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end. Some other things that I've noticed when I was doing the research too is like, like religious belief. People who are super religious or have a good like religious foundation are actually more fearful of death than what we think. And so like, you know, um when you think about it, like you would think that, oh, they understand that like when you leave here you're gonna go to a different place and everything's gonna be
Hmm.
calm. But then at the same time they know, and then in my brain thinks like, okay, so they know that if they did something here that they weren't supposed to and they're living in sin, whatever it may be, they know that they're automatically going to like a different place that's probably not good, right? And so that
Yeah.
maybe that's why they're more fearful of it, like, oh
Hmm.
my God, I didn't get to repent, I didn't get to do live my life like I should have, so I don't know where I'm going when I leave.
Yeah, like not. not knowing for a fact if you're done enough to be able to go to the good place.
Mm-hmm. Doubting it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that can be scary. That can be so
That
scary.
sounds really scary to me.
Which I can see
Seriously.
definitely why they'd be afraid of be like, okay, ya, oye tu último día, you know.
I'd be like, no, give me 5 minutes. Let me just make sure.
Let me do
A
let me go call
rundown.
somebody. Yeah. Let me do what I have to do really quickly.
No, but that sounds really scary. Having only two options for after you die, but while you're alive, there's too many things, too many opportunities to do the wrong thing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I can see why more religious people would be more afraid. That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think? What are some other common possibilities, Audie?
I think that the way I see it now, the way I see death now, it's based on just thinking that everything is energy, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so if we think about it that way, there's no end. Energy doesn't get destroyed. So
Mm-hmm.
you change. And I don't know if this is going to sound bad, but the image that I get in my head when I think about it that way is, you're done being a human and you go in the ground and you kind of become food,
Mm-hmm.
and you also become, um, I don't know how to say that, but the thing that you put in the plants so that the plants grow.
Mm-hmm.
Abono. I don't know how to say that in English, but
I know what you mean.
so you so technically, the way I see it, you're done with being a human, but you become something else, and you're still helping. You're still doing something.
You have a job still. Yeah.
You still have a job, exactly. And whenever I think about it that way, it becomes something magical, I guess. Like
Yeah.
there's no fear there. It's more about, okay, I do this, and then when I'm done doing this, I do something else.
Your job's never done, right?
Exactly.
That's a very peaceful way, I think, of thinking about it. Not that the worms are going to be eating you and stuff like that, or when you think about it, but that you're still able to help, like the environment and Mother Earth,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's like the cycle of life. It's just recreating, and that's what I
Exactly.
see. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Because when you think about destruction and you think about what we were talking about earlier about going to heaven or hell and all of those things, it just becomes a cycle of fear and not knowing what is best, not knowing how to be or who to be. And it should be the other way around. It should be you become who you are the best way that you can, and then you keep going until you can't anymore, and then you become something else
Mm-hmm.
in a different way.
Yeah. And I also see like people who are afraid of death. Like when they think about death, right? They think about, some people have this like misconception of death. So like there can be different types of death. There could be like the slow, long, dragged out death. There
Mm-hmm.
can be the very sudden accident death. Or they can just be the end of life death, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, it's, you're 100 years old, you lived your life. So it's okay. Like and I think that all those different types of death have a level of fear associated with it
Yeah.
that are greater than others, right?
Yeah.
Because when you think about, like for me, for instance, like if I die, like I want either the long term I'm old age death, right? Or you know that's the only one that I really want.
She's like, let me see. No, that's it.
Yeah, that's it, right? Because if you think about the other ones, like the long dragged out death, like you're living with a disease and you're in pain and you're suffering, like that doesn't seem like you have a really good quality of life.
Yeah, that
Um,
is true.
and actually, I don't mind the death that's sudden either, because you don't really feel it. Like you don't know, you're not expecting it. It just happens. So like, why not, right? So that's actually my second option.
That would be the second option. And I saw this quote, and what it was saying was, so the person had cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and the doctors were telling them that it would be a good idea to have another surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, this person had many surgeries before, and their answer was, no, I'm not having another surgery. I'm done. And it's not because I'm depressed and because I want to die. It's because I am ready. I did everything that I could. Doctors did what they could. My body is done.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to die with dignity. And I read that and I was like, that is so true. Dignity.
It's so
And that's
important.
exactly what it means.
Mm-hmm.
You know when like that's it. It's done. It's over with. And I want to go in a way that is dignified. Like you were saying, like I don't want to be dragging it out, knowing that it's still gonna happen.
Yeah, right.
And you suffer. And
Yeah.
people around you suffer more
Yeah.
because, they're seeing you in that way. And I thought that was beautiful because that is you making a conscious decision about how you want to go, basically.
Yeah. I had an experience like that. So like my dad, I think it was like maybe 4 years ago now that he passed away. It was in 25 years ago. He had cancer, right? And for him, his decisions on whether or not to get treatment was like, I don't want to lose his like looks were very important for him. It was, like he didn't want to lose his hair. he
Mm-hmm.
he didn't want to take medications that were going to make him feel like crap 90% of the time. And so he was like, you know what, like, no, I'm not taking this treatment. Like, I'll take maybe something that'll prolong my life for a little bit. Just, like if I need to see people and I need to do certain
Right.
things and get my stuff in order, I'm able to do that. But I'm not going to take something that I don't know that's going to do more harm to me in the
Mm-hmm.
meantime, and you guys are going to suffer. And that's exactly what he did. He was just like, like, no. And people were mad at him. And I remember like myself going through the process of like grieving while he was alive, and I was just like, why doesn't he just do it? Like, why doesn't he just get the
Mm-hmm.
radiation or the chemo or the whatever? And I'm just like, but like in my head I didn't understand. But the thing for him that was really important was the dignity piece. Like, he wanted to
Yeah.
die to have his hair. He wanted to look like himself when he passed away, and for people
Mm-hmm.
to remember him like that versus something totally different that we sometimes see. And I was just like, like after the fact I got it, and I was like, oh wow, like that's amazing that he was still able to do those things, in
That
his
is
time.
amazing. And
Yeah.
it's also a really good example of someone who has strength, dignity, and
Mm-hmm.
someone who knows what is best for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes when it comes to treatments and things like that, we do things not because of ourselves. We do it because we don't want other people to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
And that is nice, but that's not how it should be. You do it for yourself. You think about what is best for me, and then you hope that your family and your friends are going to get it. And if
Mm-hmm.
they don't, then it's on them, not you.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what he did. He made a decision based on what was best for him. And I can see how that would be really difficult to understand, like as a daughter or anybody else around him. I'd be like, no, tú estás como medio loco. Like,
I gotta sign
let's
these
just,
papers.
yeah, let's talk to more people about this because it doesn't sound right.
Yeah. But no, definitely was his choice, and I'm glad that he was able to make that. And people should be able to do those things for themselves, or have
Exactly.
somebody that you know in your family that's gonna align with what you choose. Make somebody
Hmm.
like your healthcare proxy have something in writing saying like estos son mi deseo, like this is my wishes of what I want for myself, like you guys need to cumplir con todo esto,
Right.
and do it and be okay with it, even if you're not okay with it, be okay with it because it's not your
Right.
choice. So
Respect their decision. And you know that I've always told my husband that if I ever hooked up to the machines and stuff, like brain dead or whatever, what do you call it?
mm-hmm.
And coma, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. I always told him not to disconnect me, right? Because, I'm coming back. I'm just trying different things. Don't, right? And just last year, I had a conversation with him, and these conversations, you can picture these conversations, right? For me, it's like, yeah, let's just have a cool conversation about dying. And to him, it's like, are you okay? Who talks about this? Like, what? Why are you telling me these things? Like, because it's important. So I last year I had another conversation with him, and I told him, never mind what I said, forget it. You try some things, right? It's not de que, ay, ya, se murió, bye bye. You try some things, but don't do it like that, because imagine your kids, your husband, everybody, your family, your friends seeing you in that way for years, sometimes for nothing to change. It's
Mm-hmm.
prolonging your pain, and it's not even helping anything because you're probably not going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
You're just there. It's just your body, right? And before, I wanted to be, I didn't want to be disconnected because, I was thinking, I'm probably going to be trying to come back. Don't do that to me. But after the kids, I think, I don't know, something changed. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that to you,
Mm-hmm.
having that responsibility, but I also don't want to do that to my kids. They're going to be in pain, obviously, but they're going to be in more pain if they have to go to the hospital to see their mom, and to hope that one day they're going to go and my eyes are going to be open when they're not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a difficult choice to make.
It's a difficult choice, but I think that that's where acceptance comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Just knowing that it's going to happen and accepting that it's okay. I mean, it happens every day.
Mm-hmm.
And with everything that happened last year, um, and everything that continues to happen this year, I think it's been even more important to have these conversations, because I don't think people do. And I've been told before that it's tasteless to talk about death and dying.
Really?
Yes. And that was my grandmother, because I would make jokes about, oh, when I die, and she actually one day she told me that was tasteless. That's nothing to play around. And I said, well, that is normal. To die is the most normal thing there is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not afraid of it. And I know all of you are gonna die before me. That's what I said, just to tease her. And so I'm just getting ready. And she was really serious when she said that we should not be talking about death and dying, which is really interesting.
Yeah. And that brings us to our next topic, like Latinos viewpoints, right? So if you think about like growing up, and like generally I feel like Latinos most depending on where they come from, right? In their
Mm-hmm.
religion and stuff like that. Most are accepting of death, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I feel like when a lot of them are religious, right? And so like they think about, oh, they're going to a better place.
A
They're no
better
longer
place.
suffering. People who have like the diseases and things like that, like, oh, they're no longer here, but it's okay. Y eso como que le daba una calma y una paz, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um, but then you have different families because there's always other types of families where, maybe something traumatic happened to them growing up. Maybe they never got over the loss of somebody in their life and they're carrying that with them.
Yeah.
And then it sounds like that when your grandmother was talking about
Mm-hmm.
death, right? It sounds like ella pasó por algo in her life that really affected her, and for her the topic of death and dying is really traumatic because it brings back those memories.
And it's interesting because I actually asked, what about dying? It's so bad, like for you. Like what happened? And what she explained was that not knowing how you're gonna die, you know you're gonna die, but you don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
And she definitely doesn't want to die in a bed. And she said, I don't want to be a burden to other people. And I don't want to have to depend on other people. And when she said that, it was really interesting because it's the way she looks at it, it's not even about the fact that you're no longer going to be here. It's a process that she fears.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It would be curious to see if there was somebody in her life, right, that maybe she saw them. Like, she doesn't want to be a burden. Like, maybe she felt like she had to take care of somebody else, or saw that in her mom or something, that they're just like, you know what, like, that's not the life that I want. Like, and I think in those moments, if there's people like that in your family, definitely have those conversations. Like, I know I had a discussion, and like, for me it was so uncomfortable to have this discussion with my mom. And I am the closest with my mom. My mom's my best friend. I tell her everything. She tells me everything. Like, we're always together, and before I had this discussion with her, I was like, I need to prepare myself to have this discussion with her, because just the thought of her dying for me makes me very emotional.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I gotta prepare myself. I gotta be strong. I gotta put a face on. Like, I gotta do all these things. And then I practiced it with my sister, and I was like, do you want to have this discussion instead? Like, come on, like, do this. And like, my sister's close to my mom too, and I was just like, why don't you ask her? And then, like, or maybe you can meet with her for lunch and just bring this up casually in a conversation.
Oh yeah, casually over lunch. Yeah, sure, Yakira. That's a great idea.
And then I think, like, I was like, like, we need to have these conversations with the people that we love, because like, you never know what may happen. People are not getting younger. We're all getting closer to dying and to death, right? Every day that passes. And it's like, like, I want to honor my mom in the best way that I can. And I want to make sure that all of the things that she wants for herself, like, I don't want her to feel like she's a burden. Like, a lot of times when people pass away, it's like, oh, que tenemos que colectar dinero, que we don't know what we're going to do, and, we don't have money for this, or where we're going to bury her, or, like, all these things, right? So, like, I'm always thinking ahead of time, like, okay, I have my money separate for that. And, like, what color do you want? What design do you want? What do you want to be wearing? What music do you want? Who do you want to have talk? Yo tengo todo eso, mi nota. Yeah, I'm prepared. I had that discussion with her, and it was, like, hard, but I was like, you know what? Like, I need to do this, because
How was she having that conversation?
She was a lot calmer than I was.
Of course.
And then I think it goes back to our point, like, she's older. She's lived a good life, she's fine, she's comfortable. She knows this is the process of life. She's seen her kids grow up. She gets to spend time with her grandchildren all the time. So she's in a good place.
Right.
So it's like, like, esto es parte de la vida. So it's un proceso, and
It's
it's
what it is.
okay. We can talk about this. It's okay. And it's good that we're talking about it because these are things that are important to her, and I want to be able to honor her. You know what I mean? So, but she was a lot calmer than I was.
I bet. But you said something really good, which is you want to honor her. And I think that, death and dying becomes this big, untalkable thing because we put it in a place, in a dark place. And it doesn't have to be in
Yeah.
a dark place. It can be like exactly what you're talking about. It can be about honor, about love. I want to be able to do for you when you're not here what you wanted.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. And in order for me to do that, obviously, we have to have a conversation about it. Is it going to be difficult? Yes.
Definitely. Like, even now talking about it, my eyes are all watery. Like, but it's part of life, right?
It
It's
is
part of
part
life.
of life. And I bet your mom's heart was really happy just to know that you're thinking about honoring her and what she wants and what she likes. And a funny story about my aunt, my favorite aunt. I shouldn't say that, but I just did.
Because they better not
She,
hear.
I know, she used to, me growing up, I used to see her every year. Okay. She would go and take, like, this passport pictures
Oh,
that you
yeah.
take, something like that, but it wasn't for a passport. It was for her, what do you call it? The thing they give out in the wake. When the people's picture,
the memorial things.
recordatorio.
Yeah.
Yes. So every year she would take this picture for hers just because she wanted to make sure that she looks pretty in her thingy. And it
She's
was
my
the
hero.
funniest thing to me growing up and seeing this, and these conversations around it. To me, I think that that's where I got my calmness about it, because I grew up seeing her doing this every year. And she would give it to my mom and she'd be like, Mira, make sure, because I don't want to be looking like a crazy person. Because everybody will have a picture of me. Just this is the one I want. And which is interesting that I remember that, because when we're done, I'm gonna ask her what happened, because now you're older, you probably look crazier, and I haven't seen you taking your picture.
She's
But
probably
yeah,
like
she used to
used the
do that.
last one from like 10 years ago, like the good
Yeah, no,
one.
that's not how it works. No. But she used to do that every year. She would do that and give it to my mom. So she had like a shoebox full of pictures, selfies, we would
That's
call it
so
now, right?
funny.
Of herself, getting ready, in case something happens.
And I think about, like, like, when you think about death, how should we teach this to ourselves? Like, what messages should we give the people around us so that they can accept it and be like lighter about it? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one of the ways, it's not necessarily how we see death, but more how we see life. So if you see life in that you're here with a purpose and you're here to do something great, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
That, just with that, there's an understanding that there's an end to it. Because if you're here to do something, if you're here with a purpose, that one day you're gonna fulfill that purpose,
Right.
and then you're kind of going to be done with your work here. And so I think that if you just go with that and not forget about the death part, but more enjoy while you're here, then you don't have to worry so much about when you're going to be done, because you are like enjoying the ride, I guess.
Yeah. And I think too, like, understanding, like if you understand, like you said, that there's, a set date, right? We're only here for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Then making sure that in that time, like, you're loving people, right? That
Yes.
you're making sure that you are light and you are loving and you are showing this to whoever it may be. It could be un vecino that you don't even like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but just you doing that to them is going to give them like a different viewpoint on life and death.
Yeah.
And also to the people around you, and it's going to make you feel like, like I did what I had to do because I was a good person.
Exactly.
So that's
Exactly.
another good thing that we can do.
And maybe just talking about it in a different way, instead of talking about it as something that, like you were saying at the beginning, like, that's it, you're gone, that's it, you're done. Thinking about it more as a change instead of an end. You know what I mean? Like what I was talking about, energy and stuff. It's not a destruction. It's not an end. It's just a different beginning. You're done with what you're gonna do here, and then you continue on somewhere else, hopefully better, and you keep going. And just remembering, let's remember that the fact that someone dies doesn't really mean that they die, because you have their memories with them. You have the time, and that goes back to what you were saying. That's why you got to live your life as, like people say, live your life as if it was the last day or something like that. It's not about like living your life in a reckless way. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about living your life as I'm going to love people the best I can. And I'm going to be helpful to everyone I can. I'm going to do all of these things because when I'm gone, I'm going to keep living through them. It's the same thing with your kids. You're not supposed to be with your kids forever. It's not how it works. You teach them, right? You plant different seeds and they bloom. And you're with them forever, but in a different way, not physically, but in the things that you already taught them, right? And that's the same thing in general in the world. We just go around planting seeds, and then when I hear physically, we'll still be here through memories and pictures and videos and stuff, ideas.
Yeah, I have a really good example of that. So my father-in-law, he is known as the bread man. He doesn't own a bodega or anything. But he goes like twice a week. He'll go to like Tripoli's y recoger. Él tiene una cuenta, and he'll go and pick up like 20 sticks of bread, and he gives them out to different family members and friends, and he'll just go drop them off randomly. Like, he'll just
That's
be like, "Oh,
amazing.
here." And then he's always like telling people like he just wants people to remember him when he's gone. And
so every time they see bread, they're gonna cry.
Yeah, and I think that's so powerful. Like, just like he's not even thinking about like oh, this is money, like, or this is like a waste of my time or whatever. It's just like I can give, so here.
Exactly.
And that's so cool. I really love that.
And he's constructing things with it, memories, good time, laughter, ideas, like I was saying before. It's amazing, and that is what it should look like, because when he's gone, you guys are going to be talking about this forever.
The bread man.
Exactly. So he will never be gone.
Yeah, it'll be a memory for everybody. Be like, oh, remember
Exactly. And then what probably happens is that a grandchild would be like, I'm going to do that too, because my grandfather used to do that and it was amazing. And I loved it. So I'm going to do it now. And that is exactly how it works. And so
Mhm.
he continues to live through his grandchild or
Mhm.
whoever it is or whatever it is.
Exactly.
So you're not gone. Well, that can only happen in a bad way, I guess, if you're a really bad person and you do really bad things. But let's just do it in a positive way, please, and thank you. Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah.
But
And then
yeah, it should. That's how it should be. It's just what it is.
mhm,
We die.
definitely. I feel like this topic, I don't even know, like I just and it's not even out of sadness that tears are like coming down my eyes either. It's like, like you notice like these amazing things that like people in my life that are doing, like these little things that they're doing, but it's just like the memory and the impact that they have on the
Mm-hmm.
community, on the people around them, on like future generations is so big that like it just touches me. So that's why you see like tears coming down my eyes, but they're
And
not bad
and
tears.
and that is amazing that you say that, Jakira, because if we can use death as a catalyst for change, for positive change, that's amazing.
Hmm.
And most times, that is like how it works. You see, for example, a group of teenagers, reckless teenagers, going 100 miles per hour, and then one day one of them has a car accident. That has obligado. That has to change you. It's not that you're not going to drive anymore. It's not
Hmm.
that you're not going to race anymore. You probably will, but you're going to do it in a whole different way.
Hmm.
Because there's no way that you can come back from that the same.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so true.
And so when we think about death and dying, and we place it in this other box, not in the dark place, but more, in another box, it becomes something totally different. It becomes something magical, like I was saying before. And that might sound really weird to some people because it does sound weird. But that's how I look at it.
Yeah. And then going back to your question in the beginning, like when somebody that we know passes away and we're saying, are sending our condolences to the family, like
Mm-hmm.
I think it's easier to say, I'm here for you. Like, if you need me, call me. Like, and reach out to them and be intentional. Like, follow
Mm-hmm.
up. Like, actually be there. Um, then, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. I feel like sometimes when you say those things, it's perceived as like very conditional responses that we give to people without
Yeah.
actually having emotions behind it. And so that's why I think like it's sometimes hard to know what to say to people,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how their viewpoint is on death, on what process they're going through. Like, are they grieving? Are they angry? Are they sad? What stage are they in? All those different things kind of take into effect, like how we should respond to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know.
And
Um,
I have, I went on a hiding mode once in my life from someone because I didn't know what to say. And that is sad
mm,
because if I was able to do what you just said, it would have been a better experience for both of us, obviously, right? She would have had me there and I wouldn't have to be hiding. But we feel uncomfortable and we don't know what to say. Part of it is because we don't talk about it.
mhm.
It's, the thing that you can talk about because it's tasteless, according to my grandmother. But it's the thing that we should talk about because it's going to happen.
Yeah. And
And we
if
got to be prepared.
Exactly. And I think that if we knew more about like the other person's viewpoints, like in ese momento for whoever it was that that person had lost, we would maybe even be able to just hug them and be like, I'm here for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's perfect. If you have that connection that you are able to do that, and they know because with the hug you feel it, right? And
Yeah.
like this person's here for me, and they're gonna remember that versus I'm sorry for your loss.
Which doesn't mean anything. It's just the thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's why, to me, it feels really uncomfortable, because I don't want to be saying something that I don't feel. I don't know how it is to lose a baby because I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So saying that to someone, it's saying that you do know, but you don't. So you're
Mm-hmm.
lying.
Mm-hmm.
And fine, whatever. You can do that and keep going. But I don't want to do it that way. Like, I want to be, like you said, intentional.
Mm-hmm.
So I just didn't say anything because it felt so uncomfortable, not knowing what to say. And also not understanding where that person was with her beliefs on death. And that comes from not talking about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And after that, I decided that I would just talk about it like a crazy person, because I don't want to go through that again.
Mm-hmm.
That was really uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is why I wanted to talk about this. I feel like we made so many good points, and we kind of like gave people a direction that like, like death is death. We're all eventually gonna go there. This is the process of life. But we don't have to be so afraid of it. And we can
Right.
talk about it and support each other and be real. So
And just to end with something that my father says many, 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 many times is, no one has come from death to tell us what it is. So it can be really good. It can be really bad. Who cares? I'm not there yet. I'll get there when I get there. And he always says that, every time we're talking about something like that, or people bring up something about, going to hell and things like that. He's just like, yeah, whatever. No one has come back and tell me like what it is. So I'm just not gonna deal with it. I'll deal with it one day when it's time.
yeah, yeah, that's so funny.
I'll take that. I don't want anyone coming back and telling me anything about, the afterlife or whatever.
Right? Let
I'll
it
deal
be.
with it when I deal with it.
When I get there, I'll deal with
Yeah. Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So I think that maybe in the future we can talk more about, death and dying, maybe talking about the grieving process, because I think there's a lot there, a lot of shoulds and shouldn'ts when it
Mhm.
comes to how people think other people should do that. And so maybe we should talk about that, in the future, because I
Yeah,
think that's interesting too.
definitely. And I think that if you guys have gone through this process, let us know, leave us comments, like tell us how you feel about death. Tell us what your parents told you about death and maybe why you're afraid of it or not afraid of it and
Right.
how you choose to live your life because of it. So leave us comments, like, subscribe, do all those good things. so so we know you're here and you're listening.
Yes, yes. Let us know. And so do all of those great things: like, subscribe, share with your friends and family, especially with the grandmothers that don't like
Yes.
talking about death. Share with them. But in the meantime, enjoy your week and remember to always be kind to others. Thank you.
Bye.